This is an urgent appeal from the Disasters Emergency Committee. Hundreds of thousands of people have fled their homes to escape conflict in Ukraine, leaving jobs, belongings and loved ones behind. They need shelter, food and water. You can help. To donate online, search DEC or text radio to 70150 to give £10. Thank you.
Streaming 24/7, this is Brum Radio.
Thank you for downloading this Brum Radio podcast. For more podcasts, visit brumradio.com.
I'm Dave Massey. I am joined online by Elin Pritchard, who is playing Mimì in Puccini's La Bohème, which is part of Welsh National Opera's visit to Birmingham Hippodrome for the autumn of 2022. It's here from the 9th to the 11th of November. Good afternoon, Elin. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you so much we're on a video call today, so thank you so much for taking the time today to come onto this video call. Where in the world are you at the moment?
I'm actually at home, which is a miracle. And Dave can see that I look absolutely knackered because I've just had a personal training session. And I'm in Newton-le-Willows, which is just outside of Warrington, just outside of Manchester.
And is that your area that you know very well?
We only moved here 2 years ago. I'm from North Wales originally. Yeah. So I lived down south near London for 12 years and then relocated after the pandemic.
Brilliant. I don't think you look knackered. I think you look very well today. Do you feel knackered today?
Knackered.
So, Welsh National Opera's bringing La Bohème I keep pronouncing it so many different ways now. How do you say the name of the production?
It's La Bohème.
La Bohème. Okay, brilliant. I'm going to try and remember to say it like that.
Okay.
What was your first exposure to this production, and did you know it before you were playing in it?
This production, well, I obviously knew the opera. Everybody knows La Bohème, especially as a music student. And so I think actually I went to watch La Bohème when I was 16 or 17, Welsh National Opera in Llandudno, which was amazing. And then because I studied in Wales as well, I then saw 2 or 3 La Bohème productions while I was doing my music training and singing training. And I think it's one of those operas it's a really easy watch. The music is phenomenal. Everybody's heard Pavarotti singing Che gelli da manina, or Mirella Freni, Renata Scotto, Callas singing the famous arias. And so, I was so very much aware of La Bohème for years and years and years. But the weird thing was, having been singing for over 12 years, I'd never done the role. And I thought I'd missed the boat, which is weird because I'd done Tosca, I'd done, all the other big things, but never Mimì. So it was quite a surprise when this one came along.
Do you, and I don't know what type of questions people will ask opera singers, do you have to know how to speak much Italian to be able to sing in Italian?
I've studied Italian for years. I can speak basic Italian, quite well. I can get through. If I go to Italy, I'll order food in Italian and I'll have a basic conversation. I should be fluent really by now, but it's taken me a very long time. But actually, you've got to understand the language. You've got to know where the inflections are. You've got to know how to pronounce it. And in order to really understand what they're saying, you have to get right under the root of the language. And I think most of my roles are in Italian, so Italian is my strongest language. So, I do have the Italian radio on a lot, and I do, read a lot of I can understand it much better than I realised because it's been part of me for the last 20 years now. So yeah, you do need a knowledge of it.
How did you discover that you'd got a singing voice that an opera company would say, we're having you to come and join our company?
Well, I was late, I'm one of 4 girls, and my sister Ariane, the third one, because I'm the baby, she was the one that had the singing lessons. I wasn't the one that had the singing lessons. I kind of mooched around the piano. I was really, really shy. And then it wasn't until I was 17, I asked my mum, please, can I have some singing lessons? And then I started at 17 years old with a man in Llandudno, Nigel Shaw. And he said, I'd really like to try classical music. And I was like, oh, I just want to do music theatre, Anyway, we started classical music, and 2 years later I was accepted at the Welsh College of Music and Drama in Cardiff. And then it was really weird. I never thought I would be an opera singer, but then somehow it's just kind of happened, and I love it. I love music. I love performing. I love emoting. I love studying text, and it just kind of happened. And I even now, I kind of go, I don't understand how it's happened. It's not that I set out to be an opera singer, really.
Do you think that audiences are more well behaved at opera than they are at other sorts of like ballet or even Shakespeare? They seem to be even more, to me, when I'm seeing those sorts of things, they seem to be even more inclined to sit for a moment when it's the interval, applaud louder, and wait till certain moments. And they seem to be absorbing opera more. Do you find that's the case, or have you been in situations where they haven't done that?
I do think, I think with opera and ballet, it is I think people are more engrossed in a way. Mm-hmm. Although I had a really weird experience where I took my nephew and niece to go and watch Les Mis at the Liverpool Empire. And I hadn't been to a musical since the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And we went into this auditorium, and the buzz, the noise, the sweet rappers bothered me, I have to be completely honest. But seeing the young energy and seeing the enthusiasm, and, I haven't got a problem with people kind of talking, especially children during a show. I think it's really important for young people and children to be able to ask questions while the show is going on, especially with music theatre when it's mic'd, because you can always hear everything. I remember coming out of that performance of Les Mis and going, that is a really different audience to what is normally in the theatre watching opera. However, there are schemes now that we've got, sort of young audience schemes and accessible audience schemes, where we're opening up and allowing people to be able to express themselves in the audience. Because I think it's really important. If you want to express yourself, you should express yourself during a show. I know, opera's really quiet. There's some really, really quiet pianissimo bits that, you want to hear a pin drop in the room. But then there's some huge climatic bits where then you can talk. So I do think, maybe as an industry, we need to say, it's fine to talk, but just do it at the right moment sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I always find, when I'm reviewing opera, I always have to avoid using the word dreamy, because when I'm sitting listening to opera, it takes me away from my life, and suddenly I find myself in this other world, and I'm either listening to the music. It takes a lot of concentration at opera, though, because you're also looking at the words above or below, and then you've got that situation where you are wanting to see what the cast are doing on stage, or you want to listen to the music. But I always find that I'm drifting away, and I have to get. I want to close my eyes and listen to the music, but I also have to keep my eyes open and see what's going on the stage as well. So, do you find that you might look into an audience sometimes and they are concentrating on the sounds?
Yeah, I do notice. On stage, it's harder because the lights you can't see. But when I'm doing concerts and stuff, lots of people read when they come to the opera. In concert halls. That's insane. Lots of people just close their eyes. It's meditative, it's mindfulness. It's amazing for your well-being. When I go and watch opera, or when I try and go and see some sort of concert music, or even I love musicals, the first 5 to 10 minutes, I always get overwhelmed, and I am in floods of tears because of the music. Because I don't know what it does. It hits me right in the heart, right in the soul, and I cry like a baby, and I don't know what it is, but it's just what happens to me as a person. But I think, one thing I say to somebody first time opera, I always say at some point, close your eyes and let yourself float along with that music, because you'll never experience anything like it.
This one is looking from the photographs like it's going to be set around the years that it was intended to be. Sometimes I see them and they're very modern operas. Is this one quite a classically told version, do you think?
Yeah, it's quite classically. It's a little bit updated, so it's not too early, but it's very, it's a sort of not typical bohème. It's a beautiful bohème. It's a stunning production. My sisters came to watch about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they said it was possibly the most beautiful opera they've ever seen. So they're in for a treat, I'll tell you that.
And how much do you have to consider your movement on stage versus how you're controlling your voice?
I'm very much a physicalized singer. So for me, the vocals come out of what's happening physically for Mimì and for me as a character. It's something that I've always worked on with a coach. And so for me, they're both really, really intertwined. And when I get the physicalization correct, the voice just sings and I don't even have to think about it. It's really, really weird. And then trying to, like when you're in coaching, trying to do that in a coaching session or in a singing lesson, I find that really hard. But, for example, when I'm on the bed in Act 4 dying, for some reason, my voice goes into that magical, ethereal place because my physicalization is right.
And that must be amazing to perform as well as to watch it being performed. Do you then have to remind yourself that you are sat in the middle of a stage on a bed? Is that a weird moment?
Yeah, you always have to I always say I need 20% consciousness, that I know that, it's about my singing and I can't get too self-indulgent, because as soon as you're self-indulgent as an artist, the audience don't like it, they switch off. So you have to have that little awareness in your mind. But yeah, it is you kind of check in with yourself and things don't go sometimes the way you planned, and that's something that I work on as a human being in a way, because sometimes I think we're conditioned into thinking everything has to go a certain way, and actually it's really exciting to see where the evening takes you, where the audience takes you, what happens with the conductor, the orchestra that night, your colleagues on stage. Jung-Soo went flying in Llandudno on stage during Act 4, and literally I couldn't look at him.
My gosh. And I think when those distractions happen, you then have to make sure that you are positioned where you're supposed to be. And recovery I can imagine what recovery might be like. I've seen situations where chaotic things have happened and the audience has just been like, what was that?
Yeah.
So I think that's an amazing situation to be in, to be able to then the show, and the show must go on from that situation. And I think that's wonderful to be in that position. I'm really excited to be coming to see this myself. I'm coming to see this next week when it's at Birmingham Hippodrome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me about this today, Ellen.
No, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to see it. And the fact it's just there for 3 nights. It's there from the 9th to the 11th of November. And the Welsh National Opera is actually there all week from the 8th to the 12th with 3 different productions as well. You can check out wno.org.uk for the details, or you can check out birminghamhippodrome.com for the details as well. Go to the What's On sections on there and you'll see the productions listed as well. You've also got a page on Welsh National Opera where I had a peek to find out more about you as well. So you can visit Ellen's page on there. It's Elin Pritchard, Pritchard on there, and there's a hyphen if you're looking for the page on there as well. Ellen, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me about this today. As I say, I'm really excited to be coming to see this, so it's just wonderful to have the opportunity to chat to you about the production.
No, thank you for having me, and hopefully you'll really enjoy it. It's very Christmassy. It'll get you
brilliant.
in the mood.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this Brum Radio podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your podcast app.